Our GMC Sierra tweet of the night as we return is from Buster Olney of ESPN, who says the Yankees rotation of Garrett Cole, Luis Severino, Jamison Tyone, Jordan Montgomery, and Nestor Cortes has remained intact all season, starting 76 of the team's 80 games. One of the reasons why they are where they are. And also, Paul, it's amazing how guys leave Pittsburgh and become really good. Clay Holmes, who brought back Diego Castillo and Hoy Park. Castillo shows me something, but still, I don't think anyone thought, I certainly didn't, that Clay Holmes would turn into maybe the fireman of the year in the American League. He's got an 0.49 ERA and 15 saves.
Well, I mean, it is amazing that sometimes it's just a change of venue. But I don't think it's just a change of venue. I don't think it's just a change of scenery. I mean, it tells me that whatever they did up there to make some adjustments with his pitching, with maybe his motion or maybe his hand or, where he holds the ball, whatever, it's obviously worked. I mean, and I think sometimes when we talk about change of scenery or, the guy just needed to get a different look, we completely just discount the fact that other teams have different methods, and maybe they saw something on film with him where they said, boy, if we just can change a little bit of his hand, where his placement is or whatever, he's going to be a much more effective player. But it's kind of interesting, Bob. What's his name? Aroldis Chapman came back from injury, and apparently Clay Holmes is still the closer.
Nice 1-2 punch out there, and we'll see what happens if they get to that point here over the next couple of days. It should be an interesting series. Let's go out to the lines, Paul. We got Herbert in Somerset joining us right now on the Bordas and Bordas hotline. Hey, Herbert.
Yes, I'd like to. My father, back where Notre Dame goes, Pitt goes. Well, other way around.
Okay. Well, listen, like I said, Pitt, if I were Pitt, Paul, I would be a little proactive here just because I think sometimes if you wait too long, you could be left out. I think we saw that when the Big East kind of fell apart and then teams trying to look for places. I know West Virginia was trying to get to the ACC. They were denied. They ended up going to the Big 12. And now what do? We haven't talked a lot about West Virginia, but the Big 12 is falling apart.
Well, and I think that's the thing right now. There's discussion between the Big 12 and the Pac-12 to try, the teams from the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are sort of talking with each other. It seems like only one of those leagues is going to survive, correct, Bob?
Yeah.
So if you're the Big 12, if you're West Virginia, you hope it's the Big 12. But if the Pac-12 is able to, say, go out and get four of the Big 12 teams to come over, then all of a sudden you've basically blown the Big 12 up. So it's going to be very interesting these next, 6-8 weeks just to sort of see how it all plays out. But I think in the end, there's going to be more than two power conferences. There's this idea that there might only be two by the end of it. There's enough teams that there's going to be more than two. It's just going to be interesting to see what it looks like.
It's like 55 to 60 teams you can make a case for. But let me just play hypothetical with you. If you're Heather Lyke and you're sensing that maybe we should at least start investigating things, she has connections to the Big Ten. Is it better move to go to the Big Ten or the SEC? If you had it your way, which of those two would you take?
Well, if you're Pitt, you obviously go to the Big Ten. I mean, it would make very little sense to go to the SEC other than financially. But if you're in the Big Ten, now all of a sudden you've got a lot of natural, I won't call them rivals, but you've got a lot of teams that are really close, and that's good for, travel costs and things of the such, and building some regional rivalries, Ohio State, Michigan State, they're all close. Maryland's close. Rutgers is close. Obviously Penn State. So to me, the Big Ten would make a lot more sense than the SEC.
Money is money, though. There's a lot of money out there, and the top teams in each of those conferences driving the money, specifically the SEC. The SEC, I mean, they ride with Alabama and Georgia mostly, and the rest of them just take advantage of being in a conference with Alabama and Georgia, right? I mean, that's pretty much what it is.
Well, yeah, I laugh whenever the SEC crowd starts going on about how dominant the conference is and this and that and the other thing, and and then you start to say, well, you know what, Pitt beat Tennessee, and they're like, well, in Tennessee, now they don't count, and then, say whoever, like, Florida State beat Florida. Well, Florida, they don't count. It's like, really, what you're telling me then is basically the SEC is Georgia and Alabama and a bunch of overrated teams. That's what it is. But unfortunately for everyone else, those overrated teams seem to sell very well on TV, and that's why the money's so good.
Well, it's a big TV contract. LSU has a following. Auburn has a following. They all have big followings, and that's what it is. Let's go out to our number one Cochrane Go One Better call of the night. And this one's going to go to Tony in the Hill District. Tony, what's going on? Happy 4th.
Hey, Bob. Hi, Paul. Bob, I want to say happy 40th with KDKA. Hope you give us 10 more, brother.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I want to ask you, being as though the Steelers didn't utilize Juju Smith-Schuster right last year to me, and Tyreek Hill left the Chiefs, do you think they're going to utilize him like they did Tyreek Hill? You think he's going to flourish with them?
No. You can't run like Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's a special kind of runner who gets open and then turns on the – Juju can still run, but, I mean, he's become a possession receiver. And I think Patrick Mahomes is going to like him, to be honest, Paul. I think Juju Smith-Schuster went to a good place. He was offered this a couple of years ago and turned it down. This is now less money, and it's only 1 year. But I think when you're playing in that offense with Andy Reid calling the shots and Patrick Mahomes, delivering the football, you can have a lot of success there. And he's a good possession guy to counter all the other things they have in that offense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure who. I know that they picked up a couple of guys that allegedly have speed. I can't imagine they have Tyreek Hill speed. But if they do have that guy that can still sort of take the top off of defenses, Juju is exactly what that offense needed. I mean, they had the Travis Kelce, but they really didn't have a lot of good options underneath. They really didn't have a lot of good possession receivers, guys that can make tough catches. And so, at the end of the day, Juju should help that offense. It really should.
Well, it's almost time for training camp. We've been talking a lot about football, and the one thing about the NFL, they know how to market. Getting back to your point about baseball, how they miss these opportunities. The NFL has made it a year-round thing, even though there's no games for how many months. But the Steelers are going to be headed there, and there are going to be a lot of interesting things to watch. What's going to be, real quick, the one thing over and above the quarterbacks? I think we all know that is going to be a lot of the attention. But beyond that, what are you going to be looking at mostly at the Steeler training camp?
Well, I mean, I think there's two things, really. The front seven on defense and the offensive line. I mean, that's really holds the key to this season. The inside linebackers, have they gotten any better? I mean, obviously Tyson Alualu, but I don't know if the defensive line is better. And then the offensive line. I mean, they've added some new guys and they've added some new faces. And I think, getting Kendrick Green out from center probably is going to help. But I don't know that their offensive line is as good as some people think it is. So to me, their offensive line and their defensive front seven, that really holds the key to everything that's going to go on with this team.
And Paul had a good column about Deontay Johnson. I'm going to ask him about that when we come back, plus more of your calls. It's 412-575-2600. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, 7 nights a week on Pittsburgh CW and simulcast on 93.7 The Fan.